As a regular Pokemon streamer, one thing I'm always asked about is my purpose in shiny hunting.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Yes! Yes! Come on! Yes! Yes! When I tell them my goal of completing a shiny living dex, they call me crazy. How will you ever complete it? You'll be doing that for the rest of your life. How are you going to complete such a difficult challenge? However, no one ever asks, what else can you do? Those people are right. I am crazy. Just crazier than you might think. Across 3 different platforms, I am on a journey to complete 5 different and unique Pokedexes, all to be stored within Pokemon Home. This is the Quintuple Pokedex Challenge. All Pokemon players will be familiar with the in-game goal of completing the Pokedex. Although not a mandatory task within the majority of games, many avid Pokemon fans spend many hours exploring the regions, utilising different catching methods, and running through grass for that feeling of achievement when the professor cannot believe you've caught them all. I am one of those many fans, so of course this is something I always did my best to complete when I was growing up, from Diamond and Pearl all the way to Scarlet and Violet. However, I wanted to take this Pokedex a little bit further and put my own twist on it. This is what I call the Master Dex. The rules for this Pokedex are as follows. Each and every Pokemon must be caught by me and only from the mainline games. My catch, however, is that each one of those Pokemon must be caught in their original regions. So for example, Pikachu can only be counted if it comes from Kanto and not, for example, Paldea. Naturally, my Gen 2 section is the most empty right now, with every other region appearing more recently in the mainline games, whilst other generations, such as Generations 1, 4, 8 and 9, being more complete due to their original regions featuring in those recent games. Of course, I couldn't do a Pokedex challenge without including the typical original dex, but I figured that putting my own spin on it made it a lot more interesting and unique, whilst also more fun to complete, as it meant that I couldn't just grab every single Pokemon from a game that I'd previously caught them in. Moving on to the Pokedex I most actively hunt for, the Living Shiny Dex. I started my shiny journey around 2021 when I discovered how fantastic Dynamax adventures were. I mean, these things are lifesavers for many of the legendary Pokemon I need to collect. Since then, I've spent thousands of hours hunting across many different games in the series, catching over 550 unique shiny Pokemon and probably at least 200 more duplicates. The rules for my Living Shiny Dex are defined slightly different to my other dexes, but here they are as follows. Once again, each and every Pokemon must be caught as shiny by me only from the mainline games. However, I do try to follow some extra rules to the best of my ability as a personal preference. In an ideal world, every Pokemon is caught at the necessary stage, without need for evolution. So for example, I would prefer to catch a shiny Gardevoir rather than evolving a shiny Rocks. Second of all, ideally every Pokemon is caught in a Luxury Ball, as it is my preferred ball for shinies. Finally, if I really want the perfect shiny, the shiny would be caught in their original region, like every Pokemon must be in the Master Dex. These rules, as I said before, are optional, and as much as I would love to have every shiny caught whilst abiding these rules, many of the Pokemon cannot follow all of them due to the nature of the games that they're in, such as all Hisuian exclusive Pokemon cannot be caught in Luxury Balls and their own region, and are therefore unobtainable perfectly, so ultimately, they're just extra little goals that I strive to achieve. It does mean though, that I may choose to hunt for an evolution with a different method rather than continuing a hunt for a Prevo, such as changing Outbreaks or Sandwiches in Scarlet to find the evolution instead of its lower leveled self. It also means that sometimes duplicate shinies replace existing ones in my home collection, due to better following my optional rules such as being caught in a Luxury Ball in a newer game over a Pokeball in a previous one. You might wonder how I keep track of all of this, especially which stages my Pokemon are caught at, and the answer to that is Pokedex Tracker, where I keep dexes exclusively for these optional rules, alongside all other dexes for tracking. It is extremely helpful, and I wouldn't be able to do this without them, so if you are interested in using Pokedex Tracker for your own Pokedex hunting purposes, I have left a link to the website in the description. Moving on to the 2 more uncommon Pokedexes within my goals that people attempt to complete, we have the Trade Dex and the Wonder Trade Dex. These Pokedexes have different rules to the usual Pokedexes, and they are as follows. For the Wonder Trade Dex, I must obtain a Pokemon only through Wonder Trade / Surprise Trade, aka I have no idea what Pokemon I will be receiving. The Trade Dex, however, is a little more complicated. Each and every Pokemon must be caught from the mainline games only, however this time, not by me. Each Pokemon in the Dex must be traded to me directly aka I know which Pokemon I will be receiving. I also have some restrictions to help ensure that this challenge isn't too simple and can't be easily cheated. I must never trade any Pokemon for another Pokemon within the same family, including itself. This is a little complication I included to stop myself completing an entire national dex and just trading each Pokemon for themselves, as that wouldn't be much of a challenge. I also have restrictions on groups of Pokemon due to their nature of being constantly swapped for one another. This includes no trades for a Pokemon within a starter family for another, or any legendary/mythical Pokemon within the same generation. These extra sets of rules not only make this Pokedex more interesting, but also more challenging to complete and therefore a much more exciting goal to aim for. If you hadn't already guessed though, the Wonder Trade Dex is definitely going to be the most difficult to complete, considering I have no control over what Pokemon I receive. But it is made easier through the Pokemon Home mobile app. If you didn't know already, within Pokemon Home Mobile, which I use on my phone and my PC, is the absolute saver of these trade Pokedexes and this challenge as a whole, the Global Trade Service and the Wonder Box. The Global Trade Service, also known as the GTS, allows 3 Pokemon to be deposited in it at a time, looking to be traded for a Pokemon of your choice. It also allows for searching for Pokemon you need, and even clicking on Pokemon within your boxes to see what people are willing to trade for them, meaning that when I started this challenge, I could just trade away many Pokemon quickly for the ones I needed. For the Wonder Trade Dex, the Wonder Box allows 10 Pokemon to be deposited, and every hour can be claimed to see what you have received, meaning that you don't have to endlessly travel around in circles in the games, waiting for a surprise trade that ends up being obviously hacked or gen Pokemon. This does lead on to the obvious point that many illegal Pokemon are traded through these systems, so any clearly rule-breaking mons, like this Poipole, I just send back out through the Wonder Box as to not get the benefits of its demand in the trade decks. One thing that is important is how I keep track of each traded Pokemon, and make sure that they're going into the correct Pokedexes, as of course these Pokemon are not caught by me, and therefore just by looking it is not immediately obvious as to which Pokedex each one goes into. So, for the GTS, I received the 3 Pokemon I've asked for, and check most importantly if they are from Pokemon Go, as this dex is mainline only. If they are not, and also clearly not illegal, I will write them down in Notepad in the GTS section so that I remember who goes where. I will then send out the Go ones that I received, if any, and any spare ones I have for trade for Pokemon that I still need for the dex. For the Wonder Box, I received the 10 Pokemon, then use Pokemon Tracker to search through and see which Pokemon I need of what has been sent. Then, just like the GTS, I check those specific ones for a Go stamp and illegality, and if they do not have it and are clean, they are added to the Notepad in the Wonder Trade section. Finally, I reselect all the Pokemon that I've received that I already have and send them out along with some breed checks that I have to fill the rest of the slots. When it comes to storing in home, I then transfer all of the Pokemon written down to my trades to do and Wonder Trades to do boxes, where I can now tick them off in the tracker as they are out of my to use for trade section and are ready to be put into the Pokedex whenever I feel like it, or to be honest, usually when the box gets full. These methods really are lifesavers, and without a doubt are the only reasons I am able to run both of these trading Pokedexes, and although they can sometimes be a little complicated, I am very glad that I run them, as I think they are my most interesting Pokedexes due to how I collect for them and their nature of being almost entirely controlled by luck. Finally, to give this challenge its quintuple name, I have the Pokemon Go Dex. Some of you may have seen this coming due to how much I've been emphasising mainline games and my other dexes, but for those who haven't, quite self-explanatorily, the Pogo Dex must include each and every Pokemon caught by me and come only from Pokemon Go. The only extra rule I have is that each Pokemon must be evolved within Go, and therefore cannot be evolved or changed once outside of the app, due to how much easier experience is to gain on the Switch compared to obtaining candies in Go. Now, this is definitely the Pokedex I add to the least often, due to the nature of time it can take to evolve Pokemon, and that many Pokemon are difficult to obtain, but it's certainly very rewarding when I do move a ton of Pokemons into home for the first time. On top of this, it's also the dex that I put at the bottom of the list in terms of priority, due to the fact that it's outside of the mainline games, not all of the Pokemon are even in the game yet, and you cannot send Pokemon back to it once they've left, which is really important, as if you think I'm sending my perfect IV Celebi to home to sit there forever, then you are crazy. I only have to do this because for these Pokedexes, providing space for every single Pokemon, and lots of Pokemon for trades or personal connections, 6,000 slots unfortunately isn't enough. So as of right now, my Pokedex only provides space for up to and including Generation 8. So Tsunkazu Ishihara, if you ever see this, please add more space for Pokemon Home. I've been needing it for so long. Generation 10 will destroy me if we don't get it by then. Even Legends EA with a new Pokemon in that game could easily cause catastrophe, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So that's it. There it is, the Quintuple Pokedex Challenge. As I said before, I've been shiny hunting since around, I think, early 2021. So I believe for this challenge as a whole, I've been attempting all 5 Pokedexes since around October and November 2021, and it'll be many years before I imagine I even come close to finishing it, due to many different factors, including, you know, new Pokemon, new game releases, many Pokemon being completely unreleased in Go, and also, you know, I do actually have other hobbies outside of Pokemon, believe it or not. This won't hold me back though. I check my Wonder Box on the GTS daily, and I also regularly stream shiny hunting in Scarlet on Tuesdays and Dynamax Adventures reviews on Saturdays over on my Twitch channel at Blade Inferior if you're interested in joining in or just saying hello.